Hey, welcome everybody. This is Michael McIntyre, your host of the Next Level Podcast, the Next Level Podcast here at McIntyre. We're live right here in Studio M. I'm excited about today. I'm so excited because we're talking about abundance. We're going to talk, you've heard me talk about John 10:10, right? And I want to talk about abundance and being on a journey and what that leadership in abundance looks like, because I think it's really important right now, because a lot of us out there get trapped up in different comparisons and constantly in the news, constantly in the fear, constantly in the self-doubt, constantly in the negative talk, and I really want to talk to you today and share what works for me. Maybe it won't work for you, maybe that will, but it gives you some ideas maybe on leadership, because it's, we think of leaders, okay, the president of the United States, or, Congress, or the CEO of an organization, or the pastor of a church, or the senior pastor. But look, we are all leaders, okay? We really, truly are. And what does that look like? It's real important, I think, to take a look at that and say, okay, what is it me being a leader in my life, even if you're not married, even if it's just you by yourself, how are you showing up as a leader? And I believe God wants us all to have leadership qualities. Yeah. So let's talk about leadership here. A leadership is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Yeah. So you need to know the way. You need to know which way you're going. And some of you might out there be grappling with that. Like, McIntyre, I'm still kind of confused. I really don't know where I want to be, what I want to do, how I want to show up. And I get that. I understand. That was never my case. I always knew from a young age kind of what I wanted to do. Maybe I was a freak, probably was, still am. But some of you might be grappling with that and confused. And so here's what I got to say to that. Okay. If you don't know, okay, all you need to do is, what are you going to get accomplished today? Get this thing down to granular. Like, look at today. What are you going to do when you wake up? Now, you've heard me say this, to be a member of the 5 Handle Club. What does that mean? That means to get up in between 5 a.m. and 5:59 a.m., 7 days a week. That's right. I said it, because this is the deal. If you can control your morning, you can own your day. If you own your morning, you control your day. It's part of who you become. Listen, Stacy and I celebrated our anniversary last night. It was a fantastic. We went out to a really nice dinner, had some great wine, amazing food. And look, I got up this morning at 4:30. Dude, am I feeling it? Yeah, I'm kind of feeling a little bit, but that's okay, because I know where I'm going to go today. I know what I'm going to get accomplished. I know the things I want to do. And last night, it was well worth the sacrifice of being a little bit tired today, a little bit fatigued, to enjoy a beautiful, nice, romantic, fine dining with my beautiful bride, Stacy. Yeah. And so I know that. So I still got up, right? And so this is what leadership's about, knowing, okay, so you don't have the big clue right yet of where you want to go in life. Start getting up early in the morning, right? That way you kind of know what's going to happen, and you get to control your day. Because otherwise, listen, if you stay in bed till 10, 9:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock, it gets depressing for me anyway. And I like that rigor that God gives us to get in and seeing what you're going to do. And the first thing that I usually do is get my coffee, okay, say my prayers, okay, get in there, and then I start watching the news, checking the stocks, doing all these things that I do. And sometimes the day creeps up on me and I don't know what's going to happen, and I play it by ear. But more times than not, I know exactly what the day is going to bring. And whatever God brings that's different, or what the enemy tries to take away, I know that God's my anchor in that day. All right. Now, so for those of you that do know the way, and you're going to go the way, and you're going to show the way, that's awesome. And make sure you have clarity on that, right? Whether it's with your family, whether it's with your church, and maybe it's just, you dealing and taking care of your family, or taking care of your business. You could be self-employed, and you're the chief cook and bottle washer of your business. You still need to lead the way for your staff, or for your customers, lead the way in your vendors. These things are important. So, all right, here's some things that really work, in my opinion, in this leadership and knowing where to go. again, doesn't matter if you're titled as a leader, we're all leaders in his kingdom. Honesty and integrity, number one. It truly is. And, it's really important to keep that honesty and that integrity, especially with yourself. Sometimes you've heard to say, stop lying to yourself. And it's another word for it is called denial. And I'm not talking about the river in Egypt. I'm talking about denying what's right there. Why do we deny that? So we don't have to face the reality. Be honest with yourself and have the integrity to recognize, okay? And, look, sometimes it's time to fish. Man, there's a lot of fish are biting. It's time to fish. Other times it's time to cut bait. And when it's not, when the fish aren't biting, when things aren't working that way for you, don't strive, cut bait, regroup, get into the mastermind group, get into prayer, maybe even fast. I'm not a big faster. I'll tell you that right now, but I know some of you would like to do that. And I've heard it really helps a lot. Couldn't give you a lot of advice on that. I mean, I fasted and, got up, that morning, didn't eat until, 2 or 3 o'clock that day. But I know some of you, I've talked to some people have fasted 30 days. That's not me. All right. Confidence. Second thing is in leadership, confidence. It's real important to have confidence in what you're doing, even if you don't know exactly the clear road, but you should know what's going to go on that day. And if you do have that confidence in that day, that's helpful. All right. But if you do have a plan, if you have a vision, even if it's a 30, 60, 90-day vision, have confidence that it's going to work. Say affirmations over yourself that it's going to work. Confidence goes a long way because nobody wants to get behind a wishy-washy leader, somebody that is double-minded. Double-minded is not of him. That's of Satan. Okay. Double-minded, it doesn't work. Ambiguity is not of him. It's a playground for Satan. And so what you need to do is get clarity, have confidence in that it's going to work the plan. That doesn't mean it can't change, because oftentimes it will, especially, as soon as you step that first foot on the battlefield, man, come on, sometimes all bets are off, but have confidence that your plan is going to work. Seek wisdom in this plan. And if things change, be flexible, be agile. Okay. And then ask for wisdom, ask for advice. All right. The third thing is inspire others. Your passion will go a long way. Have passion for what you're doing because that inspires other people. And especially if you're in leadership, in a title leadership at work or at church or in a group or whatever, you could be a leader of a committee or what have you. Inspire others, give them reasons, give them motivation. My friend, you've heard me say this before, but my good old friend, Zig Ziglar, God rest his soul, what an amazing man. He always used to say, people tell me, McIntyre, that motivation doesn't work. And I say, well, yeah, it doesn't, or motivation doesn't last. And I would say, that's right, it doesn't, but neither does a shower. And that's why you take one every day, or a bath. Yeah. So inspire others. And if you don't know how to inspire them, read some good books about that. And I'll share some of those at the end of this, some good books that really help me inspire others. Okay. So be committed and passionate. We talked about passion. Be committed. Have that commitment over your circumstances, whatever that is, because when you're in that commitment, that inspires others and it breeds confidence in the fact that you're a leader. All right. Number 5 is communication. This is a big one. One of the big frustrations I had when I first started working with a lot of Gen Zs and young millennials back, I was over at Upper Room and did some work for them, which was great. And a lot of young people in there. And I think the communication was probably a big problem. And we solved that and they did great. But it seems like a lot of creatives, and if you're a creative, I'm talking to you, and I'm talking about you artists that are singers, songwriters, people just do beautiful art or sing, whatever. Sometimes communication, and not just you. I've talked to some really good pastors too that have problems in communication. Communication is very important. And you might think something in your mind, my friends. You might think something, and you think people know this, people hear what you're thinking, so they got to know what you're doing. Not true. A lot of times we say things in our mind and we think everybody hears that and understands it. Listen, I used to do the same way back when I had my insurance company. I remember because I could see things in the visionary that I am. I could see things playing out in my business as a movie, just like watching a movie at the movie theater. I could see it clearly. And I assumed everybody else could see it as clearly as I could. And I got very frustrated, and I was very immature in this. And I fired some good people over this. And I also, made some bad decisions over this until I learned that they don't see what I see. And that's what separated me from doing how I did and creating billions of dollars in business to where people didn't understand. And so I had to break it down to a granular scale to make sure that they got it. And so what I implemented was is I would share my vision or share what I thought that they needed to hear or my ideas. And I'd say, okay, what do you hear me saying? And then I'd have them repeat that back, because it's communication. Communications is it's probably the biggest problem in any organization, any church organization, business, family, is communication. Because what happens when there's a vacuum, when there's no communication, actual verbal words being said and being heard and received properly, there's a vacuum. And in that vacuum, we make up things. And let me just tell you this. The enemy is a liar, and so is his mother-in-law. And they will tell you things that are not true, especially in the believer circle. So make sure your communication is being heard right and received right, and make sure that you're hearing what they're saying. And what a good thing for you to hear from your staff, from your family, from your friends, from your employees, from your fellow parishioners, whatever it is. Say, hey, Bill, hey, Mary, what I hear you saying is, and repeat it back to them. And they'll tell you, yes, that's correct. That's what, or no, you misunderstood. This is what I meant to say. And then do that until the communication's complete. All right, number 6, accountability. Good leadership has to have accountability. I remember, I don't know, it's probably 12, 15 years ago, I was coaching somebody, and they kind of had it. They were kind of a benevolent dictator, and most business owners are, most entrepreneurs are, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's your business, you got to do that. But at some point, though, you need to start having some people there, even if it's just an advisory board that doesn't have fiduciary responsibility, to tell you, hey, bro, your pants are down. Okay, you're naked standing in the middle of the street, and it's not pretty, because you need that accountability. You need people that's going to speak truth to you. Okay. And, sometimes when people are on your payroll, they won't speak truth to you because they're fearful that they're going to lose their pay, their livelihood. So you've got to find people that's going to hold you accountable and tell you that you got spinach stuck in your teeth, or that you're, that you're blowing, you're just blowing things way out of proportion, or that's crazy. Now, you might not take their advice, but at least you hear it. Right. And listen, this is called maturity. It's called checking the ego so you can cash that check. And I think I did a whole thing about pride last week if you haven't heard my podcast about pride, listen to the one previous to this. It's really good. That's right. I think it is good. All right. Number 7 about leadership, empathy. Have empathy. Yeah. Just put yourself, go around on the other side of the desk or on the side and kind of imaginary look back at yourself and say, do I understand what they're receiving? Or look at them and try to put yourself in their shoes. God gives us that ability to have empathy, because empathy is very, very powerful. It really is. And you can, need empathy in your family, because we get so self-centered about who we are, and we feel that the whole world evolves around us. And maybe I'm just talking about my own self when I felt that way, but we need to have true empathy and say, let me just see how it is to be that person, even though you can't do it, but you can try to put yourself in their shoes and look back at the situation and try to take at least, maybe not a 360 view, but a 180-degree view of how it might appear to them, or how that might feel to them in that financial situation, in that job experiment, in that, reaching out and giving a presentation or speaking. I know, we've all experienced a speaker that's very nervous. We're in a room and they get up and they're very nervous. Their voice cracks. They're having flop sweats in front of you. We have such empathy because many of us feel that feeling when we have to give public speaking, right? And so maybe until that person says, hey, I'm scared to death and I don't know what to do up here. And then it breaks the tension and everybody can feel now they're vulnerable. And so now we're with them. But, you have that empathy. And that empathy sometimes is so thick you can cut it with a knife. And you need that, though, to be good leadership. Because look, I've really done, I've had situations to where I werewolf people in the business before, and just because I got insecure and didn't have the confidence and didn't understand, and I didn't communicate properly with my team, and I didn't have somebody to get me accountable in that process because for whatever reason, my arrogance. And so then later on, I remember when I started developing the gift of empathy, it changed everything. Now, sometimes I still got, I still would, get kind of on people to get stuff done, but that's because they weren't seeing it properly and for the right reasons, and they were using excuses and playing small or victimization, which flies all over me. So, but I did have empathy in that situation, so I would tell them. And look, I remember too on several occasions when things weren't going exactly the way they were supposed to go, I would talk to them and then apologize later on. So I hope this makes sense. I hope this is good, and I hope you're receiving this. So yeah. And I've also want to talk to you real quickly about take time to listen to the Lord. I guess I'm preaching to myself. Okay. Take time to listen to the Lord, to hear God. He wants your attention. He really does. He wants you to, he wants your attention. He wants you to sit down and say, okay, Father, what do I need to hear from you? Right? Because he's got such wonderful intentions for you. Isaiah 41:10, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. Love that. Here's another one, Philippians 2:4, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others, which is kind of like empathy, right? These are great. These scriptures are great for leadership. And look, it's not always standing in that place and being a leader. The old adage, it's lonely at the top. There's a reason why they say that, because it is. And sometimes you have to make decisions that are not popular. Sometimes you got to make decisions that people don't understand. But you've got to stand by that decision. Nobody likes a wishy-washy leader. If you're going to make a decision, stand by that decision, and if you make a mistake, own it, right? Just own it. It's really important. So these are things about leadership and some good books. Okay, Mark Batterson. I love Mark Batterson. I know you've probably heard me say this before. In the Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. Great book about leadership. Really is an impressive book. And I think it's great. Max Lucado, Fearless. Max Lucado. And I like these books because they're easy to read. And I don't have I read the Passion Bible and I read some really NIV, but I like the Passion Bible because it's easy for me to read. I'm not a big sit down and read the Bible for an hour. If I'm lucky to sit down for 5 minutes, maybe 10, and read something. So it's got to be easy for me to read. So these two books that I recommend are good. Mark Batterson's a great author, of course. Max Lucado. The other one by Mark Batterson, I believe, is called Circle Maker. Check it out, man. It's good stuff. It really is. These books are really good. They're gold. They changed my life. They gave me a new perspective on God, and that's really, really important for me to see that. All right, the last thing I want to leave you with is Lou Giglio and How Big Is Our God. Go check it out on YouTube. It's a 45-minute deal, but it's really good. I think he did it, 15 years ago, maybe longer. But I watched it at least 4 or 5 times. How big is our God? It's all about leadership. It's about how God leads us. And, he loves us so much, and he's so big. He's got such empathy, and he's got such passion for us and such commitment for us. Check it out. You go to YouTube, Lou Giglio, How Big Is Our God? And for those of you that watch it all the way through, okay, send me the very ending of it, and you'll know what I'm talking about, what he discovers. And if you do, send that email to me, and I will send you a signed copy of The Next Level Life out on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com if you want it. Hey, the one that you can buy on Amazon, it's got all the pictures in it. The one that I will send you, it doesn't have any pictures. So if you like all the pictures of my family and Stacy and I and the early days with our jets and all that crazy stuff, and my brother and our trips around the world and all that, go buy it on Amazon.com. The Next Level Life. It's a great read. It really is. I know I'm bragging about my own book. That's right. But if you do get down there, send us an email. Just go to themichaelmcintyre.com, shoot an email. Tell me what you saw on Lou Giglio, his video on how big is our God, how great is our God. I think it's how big is our God. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. I know you will. It's fascinating. So listen, none of this is easy. I get it. It's not supposed to be easy, but if you're wearing the Jesus jersey, baby, show up big. He put you on this world to be big. He didn't put you in this world to play small, right? And that's what we teach at a next level experience, and which is really cool. All right, we got a lot more to coming up next week. It's going to be exciting. We got some interviews, and I think we got some other people coming on. So, hey, make sure you stand up out there and be seen. Don't be shy. Don't try to settle for less to make somebody else feel better about themselves. That's not him in his kingdom. Thank you so much for listening. Listen, if somebody needs to hear this, somebody you love that needs to hear some of these things about leadership, send them my podcast and subscribe and rate it. I do appreciate it. We're getting a great worldwide audience. We got people all over the world listening to this podcast, and I so appreciate it. And yeah, when you send in where you're from. I'd love to hear from where you're at. Send an email to us. Just go to the themichaelmcintyre.com, and there's a place where you can contact us. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, I know some of you have requested some people that want to come on our podcast. Keep sending those in. We'll get to you. And we are always about having interesting and dynamic guests in his kingdom. Come on, the McIntyre, the Next Level podcast. Have a great week. God bless you. Cheers.